This is in continuation of the last webinar that was concerned with the similar theme. And this time, the main attraction of this webinar is going to be Professor Johan Galtung of Norway. He can be called as the founder. He is the founder of the discipline of peace studies. So in that way, he can be designated as the father of peace studies. And he's also the founder of International Peace Research Institute in Oslo. And the panelist for today, and as the chair of this webinar, is Most Venerable Phra, Dr. Anil Shakya. We welcome you, sir. And the co-chair of this webinar is His Eminence Shaylpa Tenzin Rinpoche. So, welcome to you also, sir. And another panelist is Professor Dr. Arvind Alok. He's chairman of BMDC India and well-known Buddhist scholar and archaeologist as well as linguist. And another panelist is Sister Loh Lai Ling from Malaysia, and she is the chairperson of Buddhist Missionary Society as well as the chairperson of the Standing Committee of Interfaith Dialogue in Malaysia. So, very welcome to you, Sister Loh Lai Ling. And the final panelist for today is Dr. Niranjan Man Singh Basynat, who is the president of Lumbini Research Center. He's a career diplomat as well as former Nepalese ambassador to Thailand, as well as the former chief protocol in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Nepal. So, to start with, I would like to request Secretary General of Lumbini Research Center, Dr. Binod Bista, to give his views so that Professor Johan Galtung can join us soon.
Thank you, Mr. Thapa. Although today we have been blessed by Most Venerable and Rinpoche from our region, from Thailand as well as from Nepal and other places. The international peace expert or the peace man, Mr. Galtung, agreed, Professor Galtung agreed to also connect and participate in this webinar. And I guarantee that this one is going to be historic in the annals of peace research because of various things, including the advanced age of many of us, including Professor Galtung. Now, to give a little introduction of Professor Galtung for those who are not aware of who he is. Now, he is a mathematician, sociologist, political scientist, and the founder of peace studies in Oslo in 1959. And also, his Journal of Peace Research, he started in 1964. He had mediated in over 150 conflicts between states, nations, religions, civilizations, communities, and persons since 1957. Professor Galtung's unique imprint on the study of conflict and peace stems from a combination of systemic scientific inquiry and the Gandhian ethics of peaceful beings and harmony. He has conducted a great deal of research in many areas, development strategies, world economy that sustains life, macro history, theory of civilization, federalism, etc. He is author or co-author of more than 170 books on peace and related issues, 96 as the sole author. He has published more than 1,700 articles and book chapters and wrote over 500 weekly editorials. So his whole life has been peace and peace and peace. As a recipient of over a dozen honorary doctorates and professorships and many other distinctions, including a Right Livelihood Award, Johan Galtung remains committed to the study and promotion of peace.
Now this gentleman asks you, can you offer some idea to lessen tension in Asia, and who should play the key role?
Well, Asia is a rather big continent, and I don't think I have a general idea for Asia. I would get back to the person who asked the question and ask him to make it a little bit more precise.
Okay.
What conflict is he talking about precisely? I cannot answer about conflict in Asia in general.
Well, another gentleman is asking, what is the spiritual approach to lasting peace?
It has to come from the inside.
Okay.
It has to be not only mechanical by a formula you have memorized. I think the basic point in the spiritual approach is that the spirit is with you.
And now.
But then I can make it more precise.
Yeah.
Could I have a second answer?
You would like to have a second answer?
Yes.
Okay.
I think it depends on how the person thinks about peace.
Uh-huh.
The spiritual is a question of deep attitude. And that has to search out for the deep attitude on the other side. So it's a question of at least two spirits meeting.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that can only happen in a dialogue.
Okay. Okay. That I like it too. What we achieve inwardly will change outer reality. Do you think by achieving peace inwardly in our mind is the real way to achieve the lasting peace in the world? I think the answer to that, you said yes. Did you?
Well, I said you have to have an idea what peace looks like. What peace is. You cannot just say peace, peace, peace.
Uh-huh.
You know, it's like it can be compared to health.
Uh-huh.
If you are sick and you want to become healthy, you cannot just say health, health, health.
Uh-huh.
You have to have some concrete ideas about what to do. And that is what we try to contribute in peace studies, peace research.
Okay.
Very concrete ways of doing it. And I have given you one formula, cooperation for mutual benefit.
Cooperation for mutual benefit. All right.
Yeah, and I could make it a little bit more complicated. Cooperation for mutual and equal benefit. Because if one party benefits more from peace than the other, then the other will protest and say, this is not what I like. Cooperation for mutual and equal benefit.
Does Lumbini have all the prerequisites to be a global peace center?
I agree completely. And of course the major point is not Lumbini as a place. The major point is the Buddha, Lord Buddha, and his message. And you know, a point about his message is not only to preach peace as important, but the way he was doing it, to do it. And then, you know, spreading the message. One Buddhist reaches out to another Buddhist, who reaches out to a third one, spinning circles, spirals, ellipses, whatever kind of geometrical figure you want, horizontally. Not pyramid, not triangle, but circles, ellipses of peace.
Now, one of the participants seems to have visited Oslo in 1976.
Which year?
1976.
1976.
Yeah, that's correct. And he says the session then was the Cold War situation from Scandinavian perspective. What would be the present assessment of the situation? That's what he asks.
Well, Norway, unfortunately, had entered an alliance with the United States in America. and that was a major participant in the Cold War. So Norway had tied its hands and feet completely in being loyal to the so-called Great Ally. I would say what many of us argued at the time: be neutral, be independent, your own mind, contribute. And you see, Sweden, under the famous Olof Palme, the Prime Minister, was able to do that. Norway was not, because Norway had to be loyal to the United States. So the conclusion drawn: do not enter military alliance. Remain free, independent, open. Pardon me once again?
I am of the view the current existing peace models that have been developed, including your seminal one, has done a great good to the world, but still, I think they are somewhat incomplete. Now, I've been thinking all along for the past few years that could we somehow infuse Buddha's peace pathway to the current peace model to make it complete and better?
The dominant peace model in the world is a very unfortunate one. It's called balance of power. It means that we have to have arms, we have to be prepared for war, but we should be able to match the other side, even alliances on the other side. So balance of power is the idea. That does not work for the simple reason that even if there are only two powers, both of them would like to have a little extra, a little bit more, or not only a little bit, but something more than the other side. And if both of them want that, then you will get not balance of powers, but you will get an arms race. And that's the experience, that's what we get. And the second experience is that arms races sooner or later end with a war. They can go on for a long time, but sooner or later end with a war. In other words, we have had a very bad model for obtaining. So I then come in and say, if you want peace, cooperate for mutual benefit. CMB, cooperation for mutual benefit. Then you have to find out what you should cooperate about. It could be trade. I'll give an example. I give you Norway and Sweden. Norway for a very long time was under Denmark, 400 years actually, and there were many wars with Sweden, a neighbor. And all these wars could easily have been solved by simply sitting down and clarify what do you want and what do I want. And sooner or later they did that. And out of that dialogue came what today is known as the Nordic Union, with a peace among the Nordic countries. And for your listeners, I'm not sure they know what they are. I started my own: Norway, Sweden, Denmark, Finland, Iceland, Greenland, Åland. And most people will not know that Åland is a very important group of islands between Finland and Sweden. And it's a model of peace. It has inspired that. So I hope I have made the Nordic countries a little bit more complex, and also indicated that Sweden and Denmark were at war with each other for centuries. And Finland was dominated by Sweden, and Iceland, like Norway, was dominated by Denmark. In other words, we had both dominance and wars, all of that in the Nordic country. Today we have a Nordic Union, very equitable and equal, with many parties participating in it. And recently they have also stretched out to the so-called Lapp, the Eskimos in Greenland, and the original inhabitants, northern Norway, northern Russia. And they are of different kinds themselves, not one group. And that has become quite successful. And there is something that your listeners will not know. There is something called the Faroe Islands, Faroe, Faroe Islands. And they constitute a bridge, you see, a very important one, between Norway and Iceland. They are out in the Atlantic. More natural to include Iceland and Greenland, the whole combination. And you remember that Iceland is green and Greenland is icy. If you remember that, then you should also remember that Greenland is one of the biggest countries in the world, an enormous territory. And the ice is melting, and under the ice, Greenland is probably green. So there is more to come in the future. So we who live up in the Nordic countries, even if I now live in Spain, come from them or live in them, we are expecting quite an important future. And for that, we define the part of the world to the north of the Arctic Circle. And the Arctic Circle has the Nordic. And we're interested in making the most of it. And we are quite sure that something similar will go on in the Antarctic to the south of the dividing line there. In short, we live in an era where the North Pole and the South Pole is not just seen in terms of temperature as biting the cold and icy and so on, but is seen as something that can be human dwellings, can be important factors in human life. And we are attracted by the fact that the so-called Eskimos have been, or Inuit, as they call themselves, have been living there for centuries and have been thriving for centuries. If that's the case, why cannot we learn it too? Thank you so much, then.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
It was indeed a great honor for all of us to hear the views of one of the greatest scholars in the world right now, Professor Galtung. And we must thank him that he has vouched that Lumbini can be made the Global Peace Center. So I think we should all thank him for that. And he's based in Thailand.
First of all, thank you for the invitations and the honor the organizer has given to me. Of course, the whole idea of a peace is something I would like to say that it's a very awkward subject in real practice. The way we have been dealing with the word peace, for me, it is just like we have overused the word peace in a many sense, because in many ways, we use the word peace just means just like a greetings, peace be upon you, a good day, a good morning. Because the whole idea of a peace, if it is a true sense, if it is something that we can really reach, we can really admire, we can really experience the way we really wanted to, I guess we have been already arrived there, we have been already reached there. But so far, the way we have been dealing with the peace, in the name of peace, there is more wars. Because we always say that we want to be peace, because my peace is more important than your peace. So in that sense, the peace has become something, a very difficult topics to speak. And I guess the webinar in this period of time is very important in a sense that how can we think peace in a more constructive way, or in a more, I would say that it's a reachable way. At the moment, when I look back to my own life, this year I'm 60, and then I have been giving my lectures, attending seminars and conferences on peace, international faith, or whatever, so many, it's countless. But throughout my life, 60 years, I haven't seen peace anywhere. I can see peace is only in that conference halls when we are talking about peace. Even that was sometimes not sure, because we are putting our mask and then we try to speak. Like this panel, all of us are intellectual in a way. So in terms of intellectual, we wouldn't see the point of arguing or fighting in the name of peace. So we will able to have that sort of experience of peace in here and there. But in the name of peace, when we define differently, I think it is sometimes very difficult. What I mean by differently means that the universal meaning of peace is something which is very, very unreachable at all. Because generally, when we talk about a peace, we will say that it is the status without war. It is a status without any violations. It is a state conditions where there is no fighting, there is no conflict. As a human being, how can it possible at all? We always have a conflict. Conflict in a negative sense and conflict in the positive sense. Because whatever our development, when we take to the certain point of development, we need to have some kind of a conflict. We need to have some kind of arguments. We need to really get into the point by arguing each other. This is a kind of destroying the peace. But for what? For something which is really tangible, something which is really beneficial for a human being. But the world using the word peace in a very totally different meaning. For example, for the United Nations SDGs, they have put the goal of the, what we call is peace and justice in the SDG number 16. And if you go and look at the research on those UN definitions, and it shows that every facts and figure, they are talking about the date of a human here and there. Even with the COVID-19, we are talking about how many dates occurred in which countries and so and so. And then we are talking about the war, we are talking about the violence. And so does peace really means the state of that kind of absence of those kind of things? For me, personally, I don't think so. Because as a human beings, we always have to struggle. As a human beings, we always have to fight in one way or another. The whole idea at the moment is that in the name of religion, in the name of politics, in the name of society, in the name of economics, we are creating a chaos. We are creating what we call as the intolerance to each other. The whole idea of what we call a sustainable peace or kind of ultimate peace is not something out there. I would like to say that there is a two kind of peace in a way, because peace can be anything these days. We can see that a peace which is a very, very materialistic, is a very, very international affairs. It's a very, very political orientated affairs. So that's why we say that there should be war, we shouldn't be armed dealing or whatever, armed market, and not killing, not violence, and all those are the peace we are talking about, which is, I guess, that there's no way impossible to reach at that point at all. But there is another way of looking at the idealistic peace. So when we're talking about idealistic peace, we have to think of the inter and intrapersonal sort of collaboration and relationship, and then how we can work together as human beings. And that is very important point of the peace for myself. And that is, again, that is a whole word, the Buddha, the royal Buddha, who was born in Nepal, a Buddhist, which became a universal man. And he defined the peace in a very different way than we understand the peace at this modern moment, I guess. Because the word peace, Santipada, or the Santivarapada is in Pali, which basically means that one who walk to the path, to the peace, or is a way of peace. Santipada, pada is a path of peace. And what part of peace is basically is about this something which has to be coming from inside of us, not only outside. It is an interpersonal, it is a personal achievement of your life. You cannot be peace if you don't have food to nurture your body. You cannot have peace, you don't have a good roofing to cover yourself when you sleep. So these are the basic needs which is become a factors of having or experience what we call peace. So therefore, in order to have a real experience of peace, I guess that as the topic of this webinar suggested us, do we need a new model of peace? Of course. The first of all, I would say that we have to redefine peace. We have to be a little bit far away from the what you call is materialistic peace. We have to get a little bit far away from the international definition of peace, and then try to look really into ourselves that are we living in peace or not? Generally in English, we always say when somebody dies, we say rest in peace. I think that is a very important phrase, but I think it is too late to use that phrase. But generally, I would say that sort of a phrase, we have to use it in daily. Rest in peace. Because at the moment, we are not in peace. For example, in this webinar, there is a technical problem. And with the technical problem, we can see that we are not in peace. And we can see all the chaosity. And then how many of us can tolerate that chaosity? How many of us, when we are confronted with something which is unpleasant for our own kind of standing or our identity, how many of us can tolerate that? The tolerance is a real background and foundation of peace. But we hardly talk about that. We always talk about the peace between the countries. We always talk about the peace without war. We always talk about the peace between the religious affiliations and the religion differentiations, interfaith, for example. But all those is important in one way or another. But most of those talks, most of those scenarios are always taking place in the very fancy hotels. All those scenarios and conferences are taking place in among all the intellectuals who doesn't have a problem with their identity and then grasping with their own ideology and fight for it. So in a way that they already have a certain level of tolerance that they can come and talk to each other. The real problem is out there in the world. The real problem is out there with the poverty. The real world is out there with the injustice. The real problem is out there in so many ways that we can't tolerate each other. So therefore, if we have to really find the new model of peace, the first, let us define the peace in a way that we can achieve. The whole idea of Buddhism, for example, is called, for example, we said that Samma in Eightfold Noble Path, we started with the Samma Ditti, Samma Sankappa, right view, right thought, right speech, and right and so and so. Actually, if we truly understand, it is not a right or wrong. It is not kind of a proper or not proper. The word Samma in Pali itself is actually the root of the Samma is a peace. What kind of peace is that? The peace means that which doesn't arise all the mental distractions. It means that whatever view, if it creates more trouble, whatever view which creates dissatisfaction to yourself, dissatisfaction to the society, those are the wrong view. So those, maybe your speech, maybe your actions, maybe your concentration, whatever it is, Eightfold Noble Path. Those are, the Buddha says that Santi Pada, the way of having peace. So therefore, I would like to really kick off the panel in a way that if we think the peace is something which really want. Let us not just talk. Let us not just talk. We have to really think. And then I would say that in order to get that ultimate peace, in order to get that whatever sustainable peace, I would like to put forward to all the panelists that if I see the peace, I would like to see in a very different mode. What I see peace for me is that P for promote. Let us promote. Promote what? Promote E for equality. And A for according, the harmony. And C for compassion. Understanding each other, mutual and compassion. And of course, the whole idea of tolerance is equanimity. So if I see the peace, I would like to redefine the peace, not as a generic term that world is going after. But if we have to have a new model of peace, let us have a small target that we can reach, that we can really experience in our daily life. That's something we can experience with our family, our society, our community. Forget about this whole big idea of a peace and a war and not war, the dealing and so and so. They are all for the economic drive. They are all for the hatred drive. They are all the genocide drive. They have all different drive forces behind that. But if you want to live in peace amidst all those troublesome world, it is not out there. The peace is something here. The peace is something that you have to experience. And once you are able to experience your peace, then your face will be transformed. Then your life will be transformed. Suddenly, the aura of the peace will be able to share between everyone you're dealing with. The aura of the peace can be really something. It is not only the subject of talking, it's not a subject of a conference, but something that everyone can achieve. I think that is something we have to gear. That is something we need to have in a way of a new model of peace, not kind of a political agenda. But these days, we can see that every political speeches, it's become a must word that we need to have include the peace. Although they don't know, the speaker themselves, they don't know what they are talking about. Everywhere, we say, for example, in Nepal, Lumbini, we always say that Lumbini is a source of peace, the foundation of peace, the fountain of peace. But I compare my visit in Lumbini nearly about 40 years ago, and now I don't see that after all our work in the Lumbini, I am peaceful in 40 years earlier than these days. If these days I go there in Lumbini, I don't see peace anywhere. There's only chaos. There's only kind of Disneyland kind of situations. You will see a lot of trouble everywhere. If you want to find a peace, you can find in Lumbini. Although Lumbini we are trying to propagate as a land of peace, but look at the environment, look at the situation we are creating. In order to create the peace, we destroyed all the situation which is a factor of peace at all. So therefore, in order to achieve that point, to have a new model of peace, I think is a very important point. And then let's see what the panelists have to say about that. And then if it is something which is really tangible, which is something which can reach within our life, because I don't know how long, how many years, how many more years we still have in this lifetime to reach the peace. But if we are talking in terms of really old languages, and then talking about the peace in terms of a political agenda, in terms of a United Nations, even the United Nations agenda, I think there's no way that we can see peace in our life, and not even in anyone's life. So that is my comment. And let's, as a chairman, let's hear the view from our all distinguished participants, and then see, is there any way that we can come up to some solutions, some point that we can really experience that peace which every one of us really need in our life. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair, the Most Venerable Dr. Anil Shakya, for your pertinent views and your thoughts on the idea of peace in categorizing it as materialistic peace and idealistic peace was really insightful. to look peace from inside us rather than look beyond us is really insightful. To move the program forward, I would like to request the co-chair of this webinar. It is Eminence Shaylpa Tenzin Rinpoche, who has established the Shaylpa Monastery in Kathmandu, as well as since 2018 April, he has been involved in the construction of Mahasiddha Sanctuary for Universal Peace in Lumbini to deliver his comments and lectures. And so I now request His Eminence to give his speech. You have to unmute.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Thapa, for hosting this. Thank you, Mr. Niranjan Basynat for inviting me to join in this most distinguished panel. And I would like to thank Dr. Galtung for his effort for so many years working on the peace. And I very much appreciate it today. And it's also very auspicious that most venerable, respected Shakya ji inaugurated and spoke so eloquently, and many things that Venerable Shakya ji expressed are so profound. And exactly, we need to hear more from Most Venerable Shakya ji. Today, on the theme of finding a new model, must we look for a new model of peace? You know, it's a very interesting topic when you talk about the model. And as I can see that a real understanding of peace is something that we have to be able to adapt according to the time and according to the needs. And do we need a new model? And how do we define what is new? That is the one question. And another thing, now we have to relate to the peace. As Most Venerable Shakya ji mentioned, how today many places by many leaders, they all use word peace. And the peace is something that everybody is trying to apply in their words, their speech, but whether they are able to experience peace, whether they are able to bring peace in their lives, whether they are able to help bring peace in the world, is questionable, as Venerable mentioned. Now, as far as I can see, so many people around the world are struggling in their own ways. So different levels, people are struggling in many different forms. To me, a real peace is to be able to understand that exactly as I am struggling in my life, everyone else is also struggling. So without judging anyone as weak or as not doing enough or as they are doing wrong, I think it is very important for us to be able to understand and relate to them as they are in that very moment. I think the true understanding that Shakyamuni Buddha supposed to have achieved is nothing other than being able to relate to everyone, being able to relate to everything that he experienced and he imagined and he related. So today, it is very important for us to have a greater understanding of our mind, our mind's working, our emotions, feelings. In the same way, we have to be able to relate to everyone else's understanding, everyone else's feeling. So genuinely, we have to be able to bring compassion in our action. So compassion in action truly means being able to have understanding whenever we speak, whenever we act, whenever we do anything. So my feeling is this, that if we're able to guide everyone, or if we are able to share with everyone the genuine understanding of life, genuine understanding of our environment, I think we will be able to plant the seed of peace, and we will be able to bring peace. Today, when I talk about peace, it's not so much that I talk about Buddha's message, because Buddha's message is not something and someone created. Buddha's message is indeed a universal message. So we have to be able to understand universal message, universal peace, universal intelligence. When we are able to relate in that way, I think there is a possibility to create peace. My idea is this. In this world today, in 21st century, we have to be able to create, we have to be able to support, to make sure peace become more fashionable than the war. Until now, all these centuries, all these decades, in every community there is a conflict. The conflict is created because everywhere everybody felt that peace is not the number one important thing in their life, but war is. War not only outside in the world with the guns and machine guns, etc., but war within themselves. So if we are able to explain, if we are able to relate always to everyone, including to ourselves, that peace should be number one. Peace must become fashionable. So in a way, today, even the politicians and even leaders, when they talk about peace, when they use peace, I think it is very important to appreciate that as well. Now, what we need to really inspire is that they are able to speak about peace more than they're able to speak about peace right now. So somehow in their minds as well, if peace becomes fashionable, I think there is a possibility that we will be able to apply a very sacred and nature of understanding. And this is a solution for everyone. So, like Lumbini is the fountain of peace. I try to explain to our friends in Nepal that we must say that Lumbini is the fountain of peace. Of course, Lumbini is the birthplace of Buddha. That is given. But if we can relate to that as a fountain of peace, there is a much better way to look at it, much better way to explain, much better way to encourage from all over the world people to draw blessing from that sacred land. As far as I'm concerned, in that very line, I'm trying to create this universal peace sanctuary. And I call it sanctuary because that is where we will find a real place to rest, as most Venerable Shakya ji mentioned earlier, we must rest in the peace now instead of later. So this place is something that if we can create, it is very meaningful. For that reason, I am trying to do my best to make sure whole world is able to benefit from this sacred ground. Now, it's not something that I can create peace in Lumbini, therefore I will be able to distribute peace all over the world. Instead, I feel it is very important for us to relate to everyone and educate everyone that peace is everyone's responsibility. As long as you are breathing, you need to live free without suffering. That is the peace. So to do that, you have to feel you are responsible to create peace for yourself. And also, a real source of peace is unconditional love. In that sense, I feel that this Lumbini as a place where Queen Maya Devi sacrificed her life. And they gave, her entire life and dedicated to create peace. So like Queen Maya Devi, I feel every mothers around the world, they love their children unconditionally. So this unconditional love must be source of peace, and everybody must understand the unconditional love as a source of peace. Therefore, each of us, we are born from our mother's womb, realizing that how much sacrifice she had to endure to give birth to us, make us become who we are today. In that sense, it is very important to have respect. Having respect, having respect is the way to create peace. So second, is to understand intelligence, compassion, then is the respect. So I am trying to say to the whole world that we must respect our mothers. If we know how to respect our mothers, we will be able to create peace. According to Buddhism, again, if you understand Prajaparimita, I think you will be able to understand real source of peace. That is also mother. In that sense, if everyone can involve unconditionally, we will be able to create peace. And Lumbini is very special place. Lumbini is a special place. That is where we must have understanding. Understanding is a real source of peace. And the reason why I say this understanding is that when Shakya Muni, Prince Siddhartha, was born, Prince Siddhartha was born in Lumbini, in the palace, in the family of King Shuddhodana and Queen Maya Devi. At that time, there is no such thing as Buddhism or Buddhist. So therefore, the root of this is that family where they have also a deep feeling, a deep connection to spirituality. So to be able to recognize that spiritual way and that lineage and connecting to that lineage with Buddha's realization of his enlightened wisdom, I think if we are able to create this harmonious environment and harmonious family, that is also in a symbolic way to plant the seed for peace in that environment as well as all over the world. Bottom line is this: we have to be able to create understanding. Understanding that yes, we are all struggling. There's no one who is not struggling. Everyone is struggling. Therefore, if we cannot help anyone, we do not have any rights, any reasons to harm anyone. On that theme, if we can discuss about the peace, I think we will be able to approach everybody. We will be able to bring everybody. We could make it a very inclusive place. And the peace should be the most inclusive place. Peace, idea of peace must be the most inclusive one. In that way, I think we can create peace, and we will be able to bring about the essence of Buddha's understanding in today's world. Being able to bring the essence of Buddha's understanding in today's world, if you want to call it a new model for peace, so be it. That can be the new model for peace. I would like to leave right there because you have many other and special distinguished guests who would like to speak more. So thank you very much for giving me the opportunity, and I look forward to listening to the rest of the panels. Thank you, Thapaji.
Thank you very much, Your Eminence, for your enlightening views and your thought that peace is everyone's responsibility and not just it's not just for anyone to take it for granted, as well as the need for compassion in our actions was really enlightening for us to hear from you. And as we move on, now I would like to request our panelist, Professor Dr. Arvind Alok, who is also the chairman of BMDC India and as well as well-known Buddhist scholar, archaeologist as well as linguist, to put forward his views. So Professor Arvind Alok. As I'm not seeing Professor Arvind Alok on the list of participants here, maybe he got disconnected or could not connect in between. So maybe he can join later. So in the meanwhile, I would like to request Sister Loh Lai Ling, chairperson of the Buddhist Missionary Society Malaysia, as well as chairperson of the Standing Committee of Interfaith Dialogue in Malaysia, to give a presentation.
Thank you, the distinguished moderator, Mr. Thapa. I share my screen.
Yes, you can share, please.
Can you all see the screen? Okay, sorry. Okay, this is the first one. Thank you. Yeah, once again, thank you, Mr. Thapa, and the respected Venerable Phra, Dr. Anil Shakya, the chair and the co-chair, respected His Eminence Shaylpa Tenzin Rinpoche. Dear, we didn't see Professor Johan Galtung. Thank you for his presence just now. And dear honorable panelists, Professor Arvind Alok, which is not here yet, and Dr. Niranjan, dear leaders, dear delegates, ladies and gentlemen, Suki Hoto, may peace be upon you from Malaysia. First of all, please allow me to applaud the organizer, Lumbini Research Center for Understanding and Peace, and Nepal First, for your meritorious effort in organizing this second red banner. Not forgetting the technical support team from NREN. Once again, thank you for your kind invitation extended to Buddhist Missionary Society Malaysia, BMSM, and the opportunity for me to be part of these privileged discussions. The theme of today's red banner, must we look for a new model of peace? And I am invited specifically to discuss peace as visualized and practiced in the context of interfaith dialogue. By the way, I'm actually the chair of Interfaith Dialogue Standing Committee of World Fellowship of Buddhists, and not Malaysia. Yeah, I would like to share three suggestions for further discussion that peace can actually be visualized and practiced in the context of interfaith dialogue. Before my sharing, I would like to share with you the world religious populations that I have extracted from the website 3 days ago. Actually, it's on the 8th. I extracted this figure. Today, there are 7.79 billions of populations, of which 6.6 billion or 85.88% people are with a faith or a religion. Hence, the discussion of peace through interfaith dialogue for all Buddhists towards peaceful cooperation and development in thoughts, in speech, and in deed with other faith-based people, which is more, about 80%, less the Buddhists, about 6%, is indeed timely and relevant to be incorporated in search of a new model of peace and lasting peace, sustainable peace. It is only when majority of these faith-based people, which is more than 80% in the world, is at peace, then only a genuine global peace can be attained, can be sustained. To me, as Anil has said, this is actually working towards the goal 16, the second last goal of sustained SDG, for peace and for justice. The three suggestions that I'd like to share through interfaith dialogues, the first one is through smart partnership. The second one is to have a comparative study of various faiths. And the third one is to have a harmony center. The first one, to work in collaboration with a smart working partner or program to promote peace through interfaith globally. This is actually in line with the last goal, the goal 17 of SDG, that is partnership to achieve the goals. I'd like to share the example of KAISIT. KAISIT stands for King Abdullah International Center for Interreligious and Intercultural Dialogue Center, formed in 2012. And KAISIT is an intergovernmental organization whose mandate is to promote the use of dialogues globally, to prevent and resolve conflicts, to enhance understanding and cooperation, thereby promoting peace, harmony, and stability. I was invited and attended the regional workshop on Buddhist, Muslim, and interfaith relations in South and Southeast Asia that organized by KAISIT International Dialogue Center and the Organization of Islamic Cooperation, or IC, in Jakarta last year, December. And I am impressed and experienced personally through a face-to-face dialogue with the representatives from various nations. This helped to facilitate understanding. Understanding is very key. With explanation and information from the primary source or first-hand. This actually eliminates a lot of misunderstanding from hearsay, which always does more harm than good. And this understanding is the key to facilitate peaceful coexistence. Let me show this is their face. They're promoting interfaith dialogue among different faiths. And this is the photo that I taken when I participated in interfaith dialogues. Let me show you the partners of KAISIT. KAISIT had actually categorized their partners into three categories. First, external relations. Second, international platform. And third, partnership. They actually work with Africa Union, European Union, and UN Alliance of Civilization as their external relations. And they also work through the international platform, Interfaith Dialogue Forum for Peace. I'm not sure how to pronounce, but it's like Tenzin Metta in Myanmar, and Muslim Jurist Leadership Council, MJLC. And they have 12 prominent partners that they work together. To name a few: UNESCO, UNDP, OIC, and they even have international partnership on religion and sustainable development, etc. This goes to show that to work with smart partners is very important to achieve your goal. Maybe Lumbini Research Center for Understanding and Peace may do a research and identify the right partners to work with. Meanwhile, you may write on the existing peace initiative, for example, celebration of International Day of Peace. It will be celebrated in another 10-day time. It is observed every year on September 21st. It was established in 1981 by the United Nations General Assembly. And this year, the theme is actually very meaningful. It is shaping peace together. And now we just listen to our Venerable Phra, Dr. Anil, the new model of peace. Peace is to promote equality, harmony, compassion, and hence attain equanimity. How about this? And similarly, efforts may be used to organize interfaith dialogue programs. Okay, I retract a bit. So based on this very theme, shaping peace together for International Day of Peace, Lumbini Research Center for Peace and Understanding may actually work with your local United Nations office to have a web banner like this to discuss about the new model of peace. And similar efforts may also be used to organize interfaith dialogue programs during the World Interfaith Harmony Week. As you may already aware or know that World Interfaith Harmony Week was proposed at the UN General Assembly in 2010 by His Majesty King Abdullah II of Jordan, and it has been approved and designated that the first week of February of every year be observed as the World Interfaith Harmony Week in 2011. Last but not least, Lumbini Research Center for Understanding and Peace may also work with the World Fellowship of Buddhists in organizing interfaith dialogue too. I'm happy to explore the possibility to work in collaboration with you through the WFP Standing Committee on Interfaith Dialogue, where I am actually chairing at the moment. The second way that I would like to suggest is to incorporate comparative religion studies, or research in the Lumbini Research Center for Understanding and Peace, because peace means different things to different people. And what does peace mean? Just now we just heard from the most venerable Dr. Anil what is peace mean to him and to others, maybe differently. One of the best ways to engage in dialogue to discuss and arrive at a consensus on the meaning of peace. Coming together to have a conversation and discussion allows the member to recognize the different perspective as well as the opportunity to seek common ground amidst the differences. Such dialogues do not require the members of different traditions, faiths, or religions to relinquish their own tradition or faith or belief. Rather, they will foster respect and the need for reconciliations amidst the diversity. The outcome of this is to forge for meaningful relationships developed through mutual learning, recognition, respect, and cooperations. Interfaith cooperations through interfaith dialogues is possible, and it has worked in many parts of the world. I'm proud to say that to a large extent, Malaysians can claim to represent a success story in fostering interreligious harmonies among its citizens. The people of Malaysia belongs to almost every great religion practiced in the world today. We have Christian, Islam, Hindu, Buddhist, and others. I consider myself very blessed and fortunate to be given the opportunity that allow active engagement in interfaith dialogue through two national established body and working committee as an appointed and elected Buddhist representative. That is through the Malaysian Consultative Council of Buddhism, Christianity, Hinduism, Sikhism, which is an umbrella body representing the non-Muslim religions and faith in Malaysia since 2011, and also appointed by the Prime Minister to the Special Committee on Interfaith Relations for Promotion of Interreligious Understanding and Harmony among Adherents, formed by the cabinets. Last, the third way is to explore the possibility of to have a Harmony Center in Lumbini Garden. I got this idea from the visit to the Harmony Center in Singapore in 2014. I was impressed by the setup and activity of the Harmony Center, which is established in a mosque. The Harmony Center gives a brief history and basic understanding of all faiths in Singapore, in addition to a full history of Islam in Singapore. When you visit the Harmony Center, you know the Islam history, Muslim of Malaysia. You don't need to go to another places to find the history of Islam in Singapore. Likewise, you have a good overview of all the faiths in Singapore when you visited the Harmony Center. So, the proposed Harmony Center in Lumbini, if considered, will of course provide the full history of Buddhism in Lumbini and in Nepal, and a brief history of and understanding of all other faiths in Lumbini and in Nepal. So when we visited the Harmony Center in Lumbini, we will know the Buddhism history of Nepal, of course Lumbini as well. So I was given to understand that the vicinity of Lumbini Garden was originally predominantly resided by the Muslim. So when you are developing the Lumbini Garden, there was an acquisition exercise. So you may wish to demonstrate that there is religious tolerance, patient understanding among the different faiths of people staying in Lumbini. And when the exercise was done, it was done amicably. The Muslim brother, majority of them, are adequately and well compensated, and they are happy with their new homes, new relocated home for their national heritage. Lumbini is not the heritage of the Buddhists in Nepal, but it is the national heritage to all Nepalis of all faiths. Am I wrong? Am I correct? Do you not feel that way? It is your national heritage. To me, this is like a walking testimony, beautifully demonstrated that peaceful coexistence of all faith in Lumbini. Surely, interfaith dialogue in the process has a place in this exercise of relocations of these Buddhist Muslim brothers and sisters. You may also wish to visit the website of Harmony Center to know more about this center. This is the entrance of the Harmony Center, and this wall here, the banner display the teaching of the different faiths. And this is the photo taken when I was there in 2014. I'd like to conclude that I still have a strong faith and the full confidence that there is hope for people of diverse backgrounds in this world to coexist and to live peacefully and harmoniously. And this can be achieved when all uphold the principle that each and every one of us has the right to live our own way of life and practice our own religious beliefs, upholding the golden means, that is, do to others what you want others to do unto you. However, this being said, there needs to be an avenue and opportunity for people of diverse cultures and religions to come together to learn. It is through dialogue and communications that their common values and aspirations, as well as things they can do together for a peaceful and harmonious coexistence, be conveyed, be discussed. I wish to end my sharing with a quote by Khalid Gibran. He was a Lebanese artist and writer. He said, and I quote, "I love you when you bow in your mosque, kneel in your temple, pray in your church, for you and I are sons of one religion, and it is the Spirit." And may I say, may peace be upon you. And as His Eminence said that, let us make peace, number one, and fashionable. Maybe, and finally, may the merits accrued from the participation of this red banner be shared with the people in the world, including all of us in this red banner room, be free and be safe from the harm and dangers of COVID-19, and may the spread of COVID-19 virus be strictly checked and contained. And I seek forgiveness from all for any shortcomings on my part in participating this red banner. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Namaste and thank you. Back to you, Mr. Thapa.
Thank you very much, Sister Loh Lai Ling, for your pertinent views and your novel concept of establishing a Harmony Center in Lumbini is really appreciable. It's a very noble idea, and if that can happen, it can surely contribute to peace as well as interfaith dialogue. And furthermore, your emphasis on the need for consensus among different faiths to achieve peace was also very insightful. So may I now request Ambassador Basynat to give his presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Thapa. Just I would like to request to you is message we have to show to our distinguished panelists and the audience, the message of the Ambassador of Japan, so that I can read it.
Yes, sir. So we have shown it, sir. So
yes. So we had requested him to be one of the panelists, and he was not available. So he has given a message. So I am going to read out this message. Dear Dr. Basynat, thank you for your invitation regarding the webinar for promoting Lumbini as Global Center for Peace, which is scheduled to be held on September 11, 2020. It is my pleasure to send a message of congratulations to all the participants on behalf of my attendance on the day. It is interesting to learn that your center is planned as a global institute which focuses on peace research studies, in particular as you have been working with the Lumbini Buddhist University for the joint programs. Furthermore, I learned about your cooperation with the Lumbini Development Trust to establish the center in Lumbini area. I would like to know about the new progress as a Japanese architect, Mr. Kenjo Tange, made contributions for the master plan of the Lumbini area, which is broadly recognized for its historical importance. This year, the world has been completely changed due to the COVID-19 situation. It has been a difficult one for all of us. I wish all the success of the webinar for its fruitful discussions and the center's successes in all its endeavors, as well as good health of the members and their families. Saigo Masamichi, Ambassador. So this was his message. Now I would like to go to my presentation. First of all, I feel honored and privileged to be all of the distinguished panelists today, particularly Most Venerable Dr. Anil Shakya, His Eminence Shaylpa Tenzin Rinpoche, Sister Lai Ling from Malaysia. I would like to express our sincere gratitude to them to have participated and to have given us their precious time. And we learned a lot about the situation of peace and how peace can be handled, or how we can achieve peace. So first of all, I would like to talk about a little bit about the United Nations. And as we all know that United Nations was established in 1945, and number one principle of the United Nations is the maintenance of international peace and security. So is a number one objective of the United Nations. And there are other objectives also of the United Nations, that is economic and social development, sustainable development, achieving nuclear disarmament, and there are so many other subjects they are taking up in everyday life. And there are lots of meetings and conferences going on every day in New York, Geneva, Vienna, Bangkok, and everywhere in the UN centers. So this is actually the largest body in the world to work for peace. And it has the member about 193 members, state members, and is an intergovernmental body of the world. So, and there is another institution, another body of the United Nations, which is called UNESCO, which has a headquarters in Paris. And when it was established in 1946, it has its constitution. You know, the first sentence, preambular sentence of the constitution of UNESCO says that since wars begin in the minds of men, it is in the minds of men that the defense of peace must be constructed. So it is the minds of men that they want to go for war. You know, because some people think that they have to face the aggression. So some people think that actually they have to bullying the weaker people, weaker state. So they want to show their strength, military strength, and other strength, other capabilities. And some people think that they have nuclear weapons. So they are the most powerful ones. So they can destroy the whole world. And in the world right now, there are 13,400 nuclear weapons, and which has been this data has been published by SIPRI. So it's a Stockholm International Peace Research Institute, which is called SIPRI, and every year they release the data and about the nuclear weapons and how many nuclear weapons the countries possess. So now I can say that in our neighborhood also, like China has got about 320 nuclear weapons. India has got 150 nuclear weapons. Pakistan has 160 nuclear weapons. and North Korea is believed to have 80 nuclear weapons. And Israel is said to have 30 nuclear weapons. So this is, we are actually, Nepal is surrounded by all three nuclear weapon countries. But according to the UN Non-Proliferation Treaty, India, Pakistan, Israel, and North Korea, they are not nuclear weapons, even though they are nuclear weapons. But according to the Non-Proliferation Treaty, they are not nuclear weapons because they have exploded the nuclear weapons after 1st January 1967. So according to that treaty, Non-Proliferation Treaty, those countries who have exploded the nuclear weapons before 1st January 1967, they are only regarded as the nuclear weapons. So this is the situation. And now I would like to briefly go on to the one treaty has been drafted, formulated, and it has been presented to the United Nations. And in July 2017, it was voted. And this treaty is called the Treaty of Prohibition of Nuclear Weapons. So this treaty has been voted for this resolution. 122 countries have voted for, and one country voted against. That was Netherlands. And I don't know why they voted against this treaty, because this treaty wants to completely wipe out nuclear weapons from the earth. So this is it cannot be used, it cannot be stockpiled, it cannot be transported to another country. So this has been completely prohibited. So according to the treaty, and this treaty has been ratified by 38 member states until now, and it will go into implementation, go into force only after 50 member states will ratify. So I have been, advocating that Nepal should be, within these 50 countries, so that people of the world will remember us, that we were the ones to support this resolution to actually totally prohibit the nuclear weapons from the earth. So the nuclear bombs, the capacity of the nuclear bombs is that some experts have told that the world can be destroyed 1,000 times by these nuclear weapons. So actually we are sitting on the bomb. So this treaty should be ratified by all the member states of the United Nations, that is 193 members. Now I go to the message of Lord Buddha, message of peace of Lord Buddha. And peace, according to Lord Buddha, peace pervades the whole Buddhist tradition, and he realized that peace would come only when man is happy. He wanted man to get rid of all malice, hatred, indulgence in lower desires, and evil thoughts. Let man purify their thoughts and desires, and complete happiness will be theirs. So in South Asia, there is one country, Bhutan, which has one unique way of finding out whether the people are happy or not. So they have their planning commission has proposed that the country should be, people are, whether they are happy or not, should be measured by gross national happiness. Gross national happiness, they call it GNP. So they have brought this proposal to SAARC also. They have brought this proposal to the United Nations also. So that resolution has been already passed. So happiness is the sole indicator that people are in peace. People are enjoying peace. If they are happy, they are enjoying peace. So that is also the message of Lord Buddha. So Buddha has also given a middle path, which is, trying to convince the both warring factions and try to have a conflict resolution. So this is actually what he has suggested, because in Buddha's time also, there was a war between Shakyas and other side in his time also. So he was not very happy. He tried to reconcile both factions, but it was very difficult for him also. But I think at last he achieved. Now I would like to talk about something about our Lumbini Research Center, which was established in 2016. It has been 4 years. We have been organizing international conferences, seminars, webinars on many occasions, and we are inviting very prominent and renowned people from all over the world to our programs. And our proposal is to have a global peace center in Lumbini. We are trying to, have some property over there, and we will run our global peace center from Lumbini. And actually, we have signed a MOU with the Lumbini Buddhist University, and as well as we are collaborating with Lumbini Development Trust also in organizing some of our conferences. Now, I would like to say that, this peace research is an integral part of our Global Peace Center, integral part of our Lumbini Research Center. So we will continue to work for peace and trying to have a peace education. So inviting all the current diplomats, former diplomats, military people, police personnel to such type of, webinars, seminars, conferences, and workshops from our center. So Nepal is also very famous, especially Nepal's contributions to the maintenance of international peace and security has been lauded by many people, has been commended by many people, because we have a very good impression of peacekeeping forces all over the world. We have our Nepali army has been deployed in many conflict areas in the world, and many of our peacekeepers have also sacrificed their precious lives to maintain peace and security in the world. So it is very, very significant. So our military people also, participate in a big way in our programs. We are thinking about it. And I would like to thank Sister Loh Lai Ling for suggesting so many positive thoughts regarding how our center should work. And that is really, really appreciative of her. So we would like to appreciate her efforts, and she has suggested so many things like right partners to work with, choose right partners, and interfaith dialogue programs, and international fellowship of Buddhists also can help us. So comparative studies, and also Harmony Center. So that is because I think she knows that in Lumbini areas, the population there, near the Lumbini surrounding areas, there are 65% of Muslims, Islamic people are there. So 65% are there. But, we Nepalese want to give an impression to the world that Lumbini should be a center for world peace and is a fountain of world peace. But if there will be some disturbances, social conflicts in Lumbini area, how can we give it is a center for peace? So first of all, we have to make our local people happy. And also, we have some programs to have a poverty alleviation in those areas. Because without alleviating poverty, you cannot talk about peace and happiness. So, as I told before also, happiness is the source of peace. So if people are happy, there is peace. Now I would like to share one small incident, and I participated in one of the programs organized by KAICID as Loh Lai Ling. Sister Loh Lai Ling, she has mentioned about that KAICID, and it is really a good organization, I think. And I participated in India in February this year, one international conference of youth, interfaith dialogue with youth of South Asia and Southeast Asia. There were about 60 young people coming from different countries, from Thailand, Myanmar, Malaysia, Afghanistan, and India, mostly India and Nepal. So at that time, I met with one Afghanistan peace activist. And he asked me a question, we were talking about peace building, and he asked me, how I'm working in conflict area in Afghanistan, how can we control, because the rebels are having weapons, and they are shooting and killing the people, indiscriminately, children, women, and old people. So how we can go and talk with them? It's a very difficult situation. Then I suggested that, actually it's very difficult, but, my suggestion was that we have to find out the source of weapons, how the weapons have come to the rebels, and how the money is coming. So that is the government part to control it. Because, they should be, they should work very hard to find out. And also, there is another idea which says that, first of all, why the weapons are produced. If you are really peaceful, the weapons, why the weapons are produced? Weapons are produced to kill the people. So if all the weapons factories will be closed, there will be already 50% peace in the world. So that is also one idea I would like to share with you. Now, before concluding, I would like to convey, because one of our executive members, young and quite active, Mr. Rakesh Amal, he passed away in July 22nd of July this year, and I would like to express our heartfelt condolences to the bereaved family, and I would like to say that for his soul, rest in peace, and hope that we will be meeting in future also. And I thank all the distinguished panelists who have given the time for us, and on behalf of the Lumbini Research Center for Understanding and Peace, and all my colleagues who have been working for, trying to find out the new model of peace. So I would like to thank, and I will conclude, and over to you, Mr. Thapa.
Thank you, sir, for your pertinent views. Based on your vast experience in the field of diplomacy, as well as your thought that we should treat happiness as the source of peace. So if all of us can follow that, that can create an favorable situation for peace. And as we move on to the question and answer sessions, and as we have exceeded our time, but still we have a couple of minutes left for the question and answer session. So I would like to request the participants to be very precise on their question, to make it short, so that the panelists can answer, and so that we can take maximum number of questions if the questions remain short. Otherwise, we are already beyond our scheduled time. So I would request the participants to direct their questions to a particular panelist. So you are free to do so. If there are no questions, may I request Dr. Binod Bishta to give his views regarding that.
Thank you. Thank you, Gaurav. I think the panelists as well as the participants are tired for a long webinar meeting. We started around 5 p.m. and now it's already 7:45. So it is obvious that once you are tired, your sense also, deserts you. And even if you had questions before, now you tend to forget. So I think we are all excused, and I hope I could do what I did with Professor Galtung, because his hearing was also not so good and the connections were bad. So at that moment we decided, me and my assistant, that the best way would be to record that in my mobile phone and transfer it to you all so that you could have the benefit of listening to him in various areas that he could at that time today. Now, like I sent you that chat message, I think the campaign that Lumbini Research Center has been engaging with for establishing a global research center in Lumbini seems to be well founded, based on very proper foundations. As Mr. Galtung also tells us that he does fully agree with the concept, not because of the land that is there, but because of Lord Buddha. So today, having two illustrious gurus, most venerable Dr. Anil Shakya and His Eminence Shaylpa Tenzin Rinpoche, I think this webinar, will remain historical for the reason that the Dharma gurus, call it Dharma, the gurus have offered their views on how we should achieve peace, how we should attain peace, and the other scholars the panelists have added to that. I regret that Professor Alok could not be here today. Maybe he missed the train or something might have happened. But nevertheless, I do thank you for conducting this webinar very well. And since I think I am also kind of getting tired a little bit, so it may be time to call it quits, but we will assure the participants as well as the speakers that they will receive the transcript of the webinar today in good time. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. With this we come. Okay. Yes, sir. Please.
Yeah, just I would like to mention that we were able to at least record that what Professor Galtung had to say, and it was very beneficial for us and for the center. And I thank Dr. Binod Bishta and his team for, actually it was very panic situation anyway in the beginning, because he wanted to speak over the telephone, and he wanted to give question answer. He wanted to do Q&A session. So that was a very difficult thing, but we succeeded in, and it was a very important guidelines we got from Professor Galtung, of course, and Dr. Anil Shakya, most venerable, and His Eminence Shaylpa Tenzin Rinpoche, as well as Loh Lai Ling, Sister Loh Lai Ling from Malaysia. So we should be thankful to all of them. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. And with this, yes, sir. Please go on.
Yes, as a chair, I guess that as there's a final say, it should be mine. So, because otherwise I was just sitting at the chair. Having listened to all the participants, it looks like there's two different views here. I can see that Venerable Rinpoche emphasized in a more kind of approaching a peace from an inner peace, applying Buddhism, which is even he uses it as a universal message. And whereas our ex-ambassador is emphasizing a very, very diplomatic and a very, very materialistic peace in a way that talking about the nuclear and so and so. So in a way that to support your idea on using Lumbini as a global center of peace, I would say that we have to really think in a very different mode here. First of all, let us look at the etymological development of the word peace itself. I think that will give us a little bit of clear path how should we move forward. Because as far as I understand, the word peace is only play into the role around the 12th century, mid-12th centuries, something on. But before that, there is one pag, P-A-G, pag, is the root of the word peace, which simply means binding together, bring people and binding together. That is a whole etymology of peace. But along the development of the word itself, then it's become a passim in Latin. Suddenly, the idea changed. It's become an absence of war. You see, the whole idea is developed from just binding together to the absence of war. And suddenly it's we call pax. We are very used to see the Latin word P-A-I-S or P-A-X, something like that. Which again, we can see the develop of the idea from the absence of war, in a sense that the war is there, and then how we reconcile all the trouble we are creating through the human affairs. So the peace developed from the absence of war to the trying to treat or trying to heal the whole violence we created through this misunderstanding and for our greed and so and so. And suddenly in the 12th century, we use the word peace, but in the sense of freedom from civil disorder. So that is the exact word we are using at the moment throughout the 12th century, means that freedom from civil disorder. So if we take along that line, we can see that we are talking a lot on kind of international politics. We are talking a lot about, Sister Loh Lai Ling, about interfaith. But as ambassador, our ex-ambassador mentioned about the UN, UNESCO's motto itself. UNESCO motto itself is very clear in a sense that building peace in the mind of a man and woman. So again, this is give a little bit of a very important message there. So just to conclude, what is the way to go ahead is that I will say that the first thing, we have to really define the word peace. So let's say the word santi in Pali and Sanskrit. The word santi, it is not the way we are really understanding actually. Actually, we have some, I guess that we have some linguistic, or the one who is expert in the language, they can really say that the word santi is from the word, the etymology of sama. And sama is the same as the word samma. Sama is the same as the word for the samadhi. And sama is the same word as for the samatha, which go to all directions of calming rays, which means that another calming rays in the outside world, but inside your mind that you are not agitated by all the mental defilements. You are not agitated by all this klesa, the greed, the aversions, the hatredness. All those ideas have to be calm, have to be really submissive, has to be in the rest, in peace. That is a whole idea about the peace there. So as the Lumbini, to promote the idea of a Lumbini as a global center for peace, I would like to really challenge, I would like to give a very good example or very good idea is that we are, as a Lumbini, is so entitled to do that because it's a very important point. I don't know how many of us know about that. On the pillar of an Asokan pillar in the Lumbini, there is a message. And the message is that the new path, a new model of peace is there. It might be new in the time of the Asoka, but it's still new due to us. Because if you remember in the inscriptions, in the end of towards the end of the inscription, it says that Attabhagyeja, Ubalike Kate Attabhagyeja, which we translated as reduce the tax from, instead of taxing full, take 1 out of 8. That is a very, very wrong translation made by the scholars in the previous scholars. Because if we go and study about all Asokan inscriptions available so far these days, there is nowhere in the Asokan inscription talking about the tax. And how on earth, Asoka being a good Buddhist, how he is going to tax in the name of the Buddha? That is really a Buddhist commercializations in the name of the Asoka. That is totally wrong there. But actually, what he said in that inscription is very important for the Lumbini as a global, promoting as a Lumbini global center. Because Attabhagya, Ubalike Kate Attabhagyecha, from Buddhist point of view, what it says that as being the Lumbini is the land where Buddha was born, so whoever visit here must follow what? Noble Eightfold Path. That is a Prakrit word of the Astangika Marga. In the Prakrit, it says that at the Bhagyeja, one, it is not a 1 of 8. It is a noble, 8 noble. So we translate as a 1 out of 8. There is nowhere in our history, in the Upanishad, in the Veda, in the Kautilya Sastra, where they have a calculation that there is taking the tax out of 1 of 8. What we can see economically in the Kautilya or the Sastra is only 1 out of 6, or only 1 out of 4, or 1 out of 2. There is no phrase in anywhere in the text, in the Upanishad, in the Veda, in everywhere, 1 out of 8. So 1 out of 8 is actually Arya Astangika Marga, as we are understanding, which means that Asoka was the first person to announce Lumbini as the model where you can achieve peace through what? Through the Arya Astangika Marga, through the Attabhagyeja. And if you follow that Attabhagyeja Arya Astangika Marga, then it is very clear. Because, as I said earlier, when you say that Arya Astangika Marga, or out of organization, some make dristi, some make whatever in Sanskrit, samma ditti, samma sankappa, samma vacha, samma kamma, that is in Pali. Actually, the word sammek in Sanskrit or samma in the Sanskrit, it is founded in the root of the word sama. That is the word peace. So it means that you have a view of creating peace. You have a thought of creating peace. You have actions of creating peace. You have a word or the speech of creating peace. You have a effort of creating peace. You have a mindfulness in order to creating peace, and your determination and your kind of really concentration in creating peace. That actually is the whole, is a very, very remarkable sign to able to claim that Lumbini is a center of peace, because it is not only saying that this is where Buddha was born, who is a peacemaker, but at the same time, it is where King Asoka directed us that if you really want to experience peace, then follow those paths which leading you to the peace. And that is why I would say that if Lumbini, if the research center here, the organizer here, really want to pursue on creating a Lumbini as a global center for peace, I would like to request and encourage you to go and look back at the Asokan inscriptions And then we will be rightful to say that this is the first way, this is the first place we have in the inscriptions showing that this is the place where we can inspire the peace. This is the where we can follow the teachings and then able to attain what everyone in this earth really seeking for. That is a peace. Peace in the name of, again, as Ambassador said, is happiness. When you say the sukha, because again, we have to define now, because the English definition aimed at the disorder, freedom from a civilian disorder. But we have to go and ahead, one step ahead, I guess. Then we have to make it as a peace is a synonyms of the happiness, because that is what Buddha said. Nibbanang paramang santi, nibbanang paramang sukhang. It is a synonyms there. The santi and the sukha is a synonyms. Now, what is a sukha basically means? Sukha and dukkha is actually same word. Dukkha, du is a prefix, su is a prefix. Kha is etymologically means that a tolerance. So if you can tolerate, and a su is a easy, du is a difficult. So dukkha means that it is difficult to tolerate. Sukha means that it is easy to tolerate. You can take it easily. So if you say that take it easy, that is a happiness. So once you can stand, I can't stand anymore. This webinar has been too long, I can't stand anymore. So that is the dukkha. That you are going to be not in peace at all. So let us all rest in peace, at least today, from tonight on. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, the most venerable Dr. Anil Shakya, for your in-depth and views regarding the whole this webinar, as well as in particular your advice, or your succinctly putting the points which might not have been aware to us regarding the Ashokan pillar together with the birthplace of Lord Buddha. So putting everything into this perspective, we can move forward in our yearning for peace. So your insights, your concluding insights would be really beneficial, not only for the Lumbini Research Center, but for all those who seek peace or love peace. So with this, I must say that we have come to the end of this webinar, and I would like to thank all the participants and the panelists, and finally for chairing this session, the most venerable Dr. Anil Shakya, as well as co-chair His Eminence Shaylpa Tenzin Rinpoche, as well as all the participants and the organizers from my team, those who have assisted me, and to the technical support to NREN. And finally, may there be peace, and thank you very much for your participation. And overall, we must thank Professor Galtung, who, in spite of his advancing age, at the age of 90, despite his frail health, supported us in an unprecedented manner. For almost an hour, we took his time, but we must thank him from the bottom of our hearts. So thank you very much.